that a lot of people are cutting corners, or a lot of people are not engaging professionals.
For those who are watching, it clearly can be done, but now we have to elevate our knowledge base, we have to elevate how our mindset, and we have to understand we're going into a different culture. So let's talk about some of the different cultural things that we might not be aware of when we come to places like Ghana and, in other parts of Africa.
So, what people don't know is Ghana has the highest annual rental yields in Africa.
Really?
Not just West Africa, the entire continent.
Really?
Yes. We are in a great nation. And a lot of times we focus so much on the negative things that are being highlighted, that negative narrative. But first of all, I want to encourage people to come and see Ghana for themselves. Don't believe and listen to what everybody is saying. Don't know of it, but know it by coming here and seeing it for yourself. And they are great opportunities here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. And this particular episode, I'm excited to bring to you for several different reasons. Many of you have been asking about real estate in Ghana, and you followed my journey when I was looking at the condominium in Kwabenya, and then you've also followed my journey with the beachfront property. You've been asking, what happened? What's been going on? Well, I will be giving you updates really soon, but the other thing that I wanted to do was to shine some light on success stories or the successful process that you can go through when it comes to purchasing real estate in Ghana, whether it be land or homes or condominiums or apartments, as they would say here, and understanding some of the cultural nuances that are important when making that decision. So I've been talking to real estate professionals, I've been talking to people who've had success stories, and today I'm talking to the CEO of EWells Realty, and we're going to talk about this in a second. But Hanna Atiase, she is here. And as a matter of fact, she's not just any CEO. She is one of the, right here, most influential women in Ghana, one of the 50 most influential women in Ghana. And she's also one of the top 100 CEOs in Ghana as well. And so as we're having this conversation, you're going to be hearing from not only a great person, but an expert and someone who has traveled the world. You have spent time in the U.S., you've spent time in other parts of Africa, and you just have a wealth of knowledge that I believe is important when it comes to making these types of real estate decisions, but also cultural and life decisions. So Hanna, welcome to the show, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jay. I'm excited, and it's such a pleasure to be on today.
All right, let's dive
Let's get into it, right?
Let me just say this. Y'all just get ready for this. All right, first, EWells Realty. Who's that named after?
Yeah, so the E comes from Elim in the Bible. So it's pretty much when the children of Israel, they were journeying to the promised land and they were going through the wilderness, they stopped in a place called Elim, which was a place where there were wells. So that's why you have EWells, and then there were palm trees. So if you look at the logo, you'll see a palm tree instead of a house. And so it was a place of oasis. So in other words, your home should be your oasis. You come from adversity in the world, and then when you come home, it should be a place of refreshing, a place of oasis. So
I thought it was Edith Wells or
people do think that.
Wells or Esther Wells.
Yes.
But I get it.
And then people think my last name is Wells, so they think it's
Hanna Wells.
Hanna Wells, yes, but it's not.
So, and I even said Atiase. I got it right.
You got it right.
I got it right.
You perfect.
I'm doing well here.
You've been practicing, I see.
When you get into the culture, you start to learn.
That's right.
And you understand the way words are pronounced.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on this topic here.
Sure.
And I say this because every time I turn on YouTube or some social media platform, I can find a negative story about investing in real estate in Ghana or somewhere. It could be Tanzania, I've heard, some sort of negative story. U.S. person came over to Ghana and now they're moving back because they ran out of money or they got scammed or some sort of negative story. So I was determined. I said, because everybody can't be losing.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world everybody's coming to Ghana and losing, but the success stories are not highlighted at the same rate or the same level
Yep.
as the negative stories. And of course, the views go through the roof. Oh, so-and-so got scammed. I told you I'm not going over there. The year return. They have all types of comments. So what has been your experience when you've encountered people? Because you're a broker, so you help people find properties. What has been your experience, and how can you help us to see the positive side or the success stories?
Yeah, so I'm glad you're doing this because, as we know, bad news travels faster, right? So the good news is not moving in the momentum of the bad news. But I'll tell you this. Usually when people come to my office and they tell me they've been scammed, I'll give you a perfect example. We had a client that came in from up north from New Jersey, and he'd been scammed about 3 times trying to buy land. So he was just so frustrated. And so my first question was, walk me through your buying process. And 90% of the time, when you actually have a client walk you through their buying process, you'll find out that they bypassed most of the important things necessary to make sure that you are buying your property safely. And that is what I noticed, that a lot of people are cutting corners, or a lot of people are not engaging professionals. And in every real estate transaction, I always say you need to have at least 4 professionals that are part of the transaction, right? You need a real estate broker, a professional real estate broker that's part of an association that has a body that they are accountable to. You need a lawyer. Every real estate transaction in the U.S. goes through a law firm or a title company. Other places overseas, it goes through a solicitor's office. So you need a legal entity that's part of the transaction. And you need a valuer, an appraiser. And make sure you're getting value for your money. And then finally, you need a home inspector. I had a situation with a lady from the States who wanted to buy a property. And she was already living there. So I said that she could do a rent-to-own scenario. And I said, but get an inspector. Let the inspector take a look at it. She came back to me so grateful. And she said that the inspector told her that that roof would have caved in less than 2 years.
Really?
Yes.
Because you said a lot of key things right there. The 4 essential professionals. But you're finding that in the process when people are getting scammed, they're not following that protocol. They're
not using any of the professionals that I mentioned.
What are some of the things that you've seen?
What they're doing is they're doing it on their own. They think it's a process in which they don't need to engage anyone because they want to save, right? They want to save on fees.
Now, I'm going to translate that in Black American terms in a second. I'll let you go ahead and walk that down. And I'm going to come back and speak it so y'all understand it.
I'm going to be diplomatic. You want to save fees. And I always say it's best to pay that initial upfront fee than to pay years in court, legal fees, and your time in court. And 70% of court cases today in Ghana are land-related because people are not following the right processes. So what I find is people think that, oh, there's land, I'll just go speak to the seller, the owner. You haven't even done your due diligence to know that that is the valid owner. But you assume that's the owner, you engage the owner, no legal documentation. And a lot of times people don't even have sales and purchase agreement. Don't even have proper documentation, and they just pay the seller, and then they find out the seller has resold it to other people, or that wasn't even the original seller.
All right, so now let me translate this for everybody in the Black American terms, or anybody who's out there watching. So basically what'll happen is y'all will come over here trying to do this thing on the cheap. And then what happens is you hook up with somebody, they fast talk you, and then you get fast talked, you give up your money without doing the proper research, and then you get taken for bad. And now you want to cry foul. I think I said that the best way.
You said it perfectly well. Perfectly well. It's, we have to be very careful here that we highlight both ends. This is the legal process. This is what needs to be done. I got scammed because I didn't do A, B, C, D. The chances of you being scammed are minimal if you mitigate your risk by following the right processes.
But culturally, and I think this is where a big issue comes in. Culturally, in the U.S., many of us are not sophisticated real estate investors or business owners. And so when the opportunity comes, they hear, oh, they're giving free land in Ghana, or they're giving land cheap in Ghana. So their trigger words to many in our culture, the word cheap, which is a dangerous word.
And free.
Cheap and free. And I always run from both because I know, okay, well, whoever's going for the cheap, I understand a particular mentality comes along with this many times. Not always, but many times cheap and free, it kind of brings a hustle mentality as it is. So you already have oftentimes, and I'm very careful to say oftentimes because I don't want to generalize, someone who's looking for something for free and understanding that's land. That's something, there's a service that needs to be provided. I need to pay for it. Nobody wants to go on a job and work for free or to be paid poorly for that. You know, they're not going to give the best quality. So when we think to ourselves, you know what? If it's cheap, it might not be the best quality. So anyway, with that said,
well,
go ahead.
I'd like to touch on that because, you know, we do have affordable housing, right? But let's talk about this free land that we've heard going around,
Let's
right?
talk about it.
Even if the land is free, you still have to pay to do the due diligence, right? And so I say that use an escrow system. We're the only real estate company in Ghana that provides this escrow system. So let's say the land is actually free. Now I engage the services of an escrow agent, which is a legal entity, right? And now I hire them to do due diligence on that land. There are 8 places that you need to search to make sure that that land is litigation free. Everybody knows one place, Lands Commission, but there are 8 places you need to search.
There's 7 more places after the Lands Commission.
Exactly. You don't have the knowledge or the expertise or even the time to do that. So once you engage the escrow agent, the funds for the land, okay, it's free land, so you're paying the escrow agent to do the due diligence for you. They do the due diligence, they check the validity of that owner. They check to make sure there's no litigation. You got to check that in high courts. You need to check and make sure there are no back taxes on that. Don't you check that in the States? Doesn't the title company check that?
Yes.
They are property taxes in Ghana, people. They are. You need to check that. There's so many things that need to be checked. So that's why I say when I engage people and I ask them, walk me through your buying process, they skip all this.
So there are 8 places.
Right.
And I know the Lands Commission.
Yes.
We were talking about the free land, Lands Commission. It sounds very appealing. You're dealing with a lot of people coming from the African diaspora who are not very culturally knowledgeable about Ghana and the system. But these different places that we need to check. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so, you know, there is pre-closing due diligence, right? So you're checking in all these 8 places. Whether it is an off-plan project, which means a new construction, or if it's land, or if it's an existing property, right? You want to check a Lands Commission to check the validity of the owner.
Okay.
You want to check High Court to make sure that there's no litigation on the land.
Okay, litigation will be in High Court, okay?
High Court, yeah, because maybe people are, you know, fighting for ownership of that land. That's not going to reflect in Lands Commission.
Got it.
Right?
Right.
So you need to check high courts. You need to check the taxes. How do you know whether they've been paying taxes every year on this or not? So if you purchase that property, you will inherit all the bad debt that is related to that. If it's an existing property, utility bills, electricity, water, have you checked all that to make sure it's paid in full? So this escrow system we have in place, the escrow agent will do all the necessary checks and everything will be listed on your settlement statement to ensure that everything is paid at closing. And then don't forget post-closing. Now the escrow agent has to go and start the registration process at Lands Commission so that you can walk away with your title.
Now that is the first time I've heard anybody say any of this. Because I was looking at some land in Salt Pond. And I talked to the guy, and he had done another development out in Pram Pram, and real smooth talk. I mean, you talk, Sade talk about a smooth operator. Well, he was smooth. And I said, you're really smooth with this thing. And I said, well, I want to get 8 lots. And we're looking at a little over $100,000. And he was very convinced that he could sell this land. I called my attorney. I had enough sense to say, let me do some due diligence here. Let me not just give this man $100,000 and hope for the best. Emotionally, I'm loving the land. I can see building on it. So she did the due diligence and found out he did not have the ability to sell that land. Also found out he was in a dispute with the chief.
That's right.
But now I was willing to spend. That cost me a little bit of money. It cost me maybe about $2,000 or $3,000 USD.
But not $100,000.
It didn't cost me $100,000. Yeah. That's the point. Yeah. And so I was willing to do that to protect my interest. Now I had enough sense. I wasn't very familiar with the Ghana real estate market or the system, but I knew that I did not need to just go give this man $100,000. But I've seen people give money just because somebody spoke to their emotions and spoke to their frustrations in the U.S. and then they would lose this money. And next thing you know, here we are with another story about how something went wrong in Ghana.
And then you're complaining you were scammed and you didn't do the due diligence. Yeah. And, you've got to educate yourself on the home buying process in Ghana, right? So, we host a first-time home buyers in Ghana seminar every year in December that teaches you the home buying process in Ghana and how to identify the red flags so you can avoid becoming a victim of real estate fraud. And so before you purchase in any nation, you should do your due diligence and you should educate yourself on the home buying process.
And I know y'all not going to like me after I break this down. I just want to give everybody a heads up. I'm probably not going to be your favorite YouTuber or Instagram or TikToker or anything, Facebooker or anything after I say what I'm about to say. But it's just real. And I think everybody understands that I'm going to just say it how it is. The reality is in our culture in many parts of America, and I'm speaking to Black American culture, we have been groomed to look for free, to look for cheap, and to look for the easy way to go about doing it. And of course, for those who do it the proper way, you don't run down this road. But every single time I see someone get into these situations, there's a particular mentality that goes along with it. I don't see financially or entrepreneurial savvy people getting trapped like this. It's typically someone who's emotionally moving because of something in the U.S. Racism is going on. It's getting bad in the U.S. Now I'm looking to move to Ghana. I'm looking to move to Tanzania or South Africa or someplace else. And I'm just looking to do it the easy way. I don't want to spend the money to go on a tour and visit. So that's too expensive. I don't want to spend the money to do the due diligence, but I just saw somebody on Instagram and now they're selling homes and now I'm excited because I got roped in with the hype. And I see it time and time again. That's why I'm taking the time to have these interviews because I know everybody can't be failing and I don't want my people to fail. The one thing I'm bridging the gap between African and African diaspora. Most people would not even know that there are home buying seminars in Ghana because they're thinking Ghana, third world country. So let me go over here and pimp their system because that's some of that hustle mentality that has been given to us to say, well, I can go over to get free land. My ancestors were sold into slavery, so I'm gonna go get some of that free land back. That's part of my reparations without even understanding. They don't even know the story. So it's like they just leave that little piece in there or leave that piece out of it. So by you saying that there are home buying seminars, that there are 8 steps in the process. There's a very sophisticated process here in Ghana where you can be successful and there are professionals that can walk you through the process and then you don't have to have this story. I hope y'all hear what I'm saying. Now, for those who are watching, it clearly can be done, but now we have to elevate our knowledge base. We have to elevate how our mindset, and we have to understand we're going into a different culture. So let's talk about some of the different cultural things that we might not be aware of when we come to places like Ghana and, in other parts of Africa. When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Maximum Impact Travel celebrates the rich history and culture of the African diaspora, connecting travelers to Africa, the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe. Through carefully curated tours, they showcase the people, traditions, and hidden treasures of these regions, offering unforgettable journeys that honor the beauty and legacy of the African diaspora.
And before I even touch on that, if you want something free, the first time home buyers in Ghana seminar is free, okay? And we do live streaming and it's free to come.
Oh, wow.
So that's something free that will equip you to be an informed buyer in the future. So there's a free
There's something free
Yeah.
for you. Come
Yes.
get some free knowledge so you can go get some land.
Yes, yes. And also, do your due diligence on the professionals. And they are platforms for that. You want to find out if the lawyer still has an active license. There is a platform. You can go on the website. You could do a search, just the way you could do public searches in the States to check somebody's real estate license, etc. You can do all these searches to make sure that the professional you're engaging is a professional and is actively licensed as well.
That's real. That is very real, because
people don't do that.
It goes back to the laziness. It's really what we're looking for in the U.S. We have these cookie cutter communities, and we walk up and they have the brochures and everything looks great.
Yeah.
We walk in, okay, the house will be delivered in 12 months.
Yeah.
We put down our 5% or $5,000 escrow, our earnest money deposit, and we wait for our stick home to be built right there in the States.
Yeah.
And then you come to Ghana, and they have a lot of different attractive programs. But from a cultural perspective, we're not prepared for the delays.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of that.
Yes, you're not prepared for the delays. And let me just say, yes, there's the earnest money deposit in the States. There's earnest money deposit here in Ghana too. There's a lot of similarity. You just have to make sure you understand the process. There are construction delays. I've been in this real estate sector for over 10 years. I am yet to find a developer that completes on time. Okay, I don't want to generalize and say all developers, but I'll say all the developers I've worked with in the last 10 years, none of them have completed a project on time. So what I say to people is, in the States, the building material is different. And if they tell you 12 months, yes, they could probably complete it in 12 months. If they tell you 12 months in Ghana, add another 12 months to it,
so
because
double it,
yeah.
Maybe even triple it.
Yeah, you could, and I'm speaking as a real estate broker who has experience in the industry, and I'm speaking as a real estate investor who has actually purchased properties. I have every property that I've purchased here has never been completed on time. But because I understand the terrain and I understand the market, you just have to be patient, and you can do regular checks. Go to the site and take a look at it. If you're overseas, request progress reports.
Well, I always tell my folks when they come on my tours, I say, pack your patience, leave America in America. And I think that when we come
Please say that again. Okay. Leave America.
Leave America in America.
Yes.
And pack your patience.
Yeah.
Because you're coming into a different culture. Yeah. You're coming into a different system. Although there's similarities, there's still differences and cultural nuances that if you don't even take the time to come and get among the people and understand, then that sets you up for disappointment. Yeah. And that's something I've seen. Here's something I see, that folks will come on a tour and they'll want to buy property, but they won't want to tell me they're looking to buy property. I don't know why. Yeah. They'll go buy the property, get in trouble, and then want me to come figure it out for them. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say something when you were going through the process? But they try to circumvent, go around. I don't know what it is. And you've seen this before too, right? With people just kind of.
I have. We've had situations where we've actually taken clients to go and view a property. And then you find out that the following day or, later on that week, the client goes back to that property in hopes of meeting the seller, so that they can work directly with the seller, just because they want to avoid commissions.
Well, they call it cut the middleman out.
You pay commissions in every other country. The only difference in commissions is the amount. It can range anywhere from 2 to 6%, depending on what nation in the world you're in. But in every nation, you pay commissions. Why is it that coming to Ghana, you don't want to pay commissions? You want to bypass paying commissions, and not only do you bypass that, but you bypass the professional help you would have received from us to avoid some of these pitfalls.
Well, they call it cutting the middleman out.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a U.S. way of doing things. They do it on my tours. They'll try to go behind me and go and talk to my staff and try to get to do little side tours. And it's like, well, but they're going to miss out on the professional side. And again, what ends up happening is when folks get in trouble, they want to call you to help rescue them, but it always costs more to get the help. Now, as you hear what Hannah's saying, could be saving someone tens of thousands, if not more, dollars. Yeah. Because when you get the professional help and you are patient with the process, then, because that's another thing, people are impatient. They want it now, it's microwave. I want it right now, and they're trying to make a quick decision, but that it doesn't work that way in Ghana.
No, it doesn't. And, what I will also say is, we have worked with, right now we have a handful of developers who are not giving us the best credibility because of construction delays.
What causes the construction delays? That's the thing that I've often wondered, because I've run into all kinds of delays, food delays, customer service delays. So what causes construction delays in Ghana?
I think it's a combination of things. I think there's a laid back attitude anyway, because one of the things I noticed when I first relocated from the States, people would ask me why was I walking so fast? And I didn't realize that I was walking fast. But you notice that people here, if you observe, they walk slower. It's more of a laid back attitude.
Okay.
And then also, a lot of the stuff is imported. So there are import delays. Most of items are imported from Turkey and other countries.
Really?
Yes, a lot of items are imported. So that's also another thing. And the weather as well, because you're building all year round. The rains is also something that will stop it. So there's the natural delays, natural weather delays. There's, I think, the whole attitude delays. And I think there's also sometimes, you have to change construction team members, the laborers. There might be some employment issues. So I think it's a combination of things. But the bottom line is, what I find is that because people tend to build their lives around that completion date, they're relocating, maybe they've put their resignation notice or they've shipped their stuff and it's going to come here, and they have bought their tickets and they have pretty much prepared around that date. And so when the home is not completed by that date, then there tends to be an uproar about it. And I think also people tend to breed fear, because what I've experienced is if a project is not completed, people start to get scared. They're wondering what's happening. Are my funds locked up? And it starts spreading. This fear starts breeding, and then everybody wants out. And when that happens, it also causes, a delay in that project as well.
Yeah, I went through that with a property. When I first came to Ghana, everybody was watching me and they were following me on another development back in 2020. That's when I purchased the property initially, and then they were building it out in Kwabenya, and then all of a sudden it stopped. The communication stopped like 3 years ago. Yeah. So I finally had to go to the property and say, listen, we need to have a conversation. Or else there will be a feature story about this development. And the sad part about it is that they have structures going up, but they've let it fall into such disrepair that no one would even want to live there. Yeah. So it looks like a slum, basically. Wow. It is a brand new development. And so when I sent the message to them that I will have I said, here's some of my documentaries. I said, I'll spend the money to do a documentary on this one. And so they called me back and they said, listen, we can move you to another property. And so we're going to see how that whole part works out. But the delay has been 4 years. Yeah.
And I can believe that, because there are delays. Right now we're dealing with a handful of developers where the delay is anywhere from a year to 2 years out right now as we're speaking. But, even in delays, I think what you need to do is just do regular site visits and find out if there is still progress on the site. If it's ghost town, that's a different story. Yeah. But if you still see laborers there and they're still working slowly but surely, then that shouldn't be a cause for alarm. Just because they're not moving at the pace that we all would like, but as long as there's still people on the site and they're working, then you should be assured that the project will be completed. But I'll say this, I have spoken with a lot of developers, and some of the things that we're trying to mend is that developers need to have better lines of communication.
Also, communication. Yeah.
Developers, you've got to communicate to people and let them know that, hey, we targeted it to be completed November 1st. And you know at least a couple of months ahead of time whether you're going to meet that November 1st deadline or not.
Yeah.
So I think a communication needs to go out, whether it's verbal or written. There should be something to go out to let people know that we are behind time. And then there should be realistic timelines. Don't just give it another 2 months because, that will keep them quiet for another 2 months. But even if it's going to take another year, it's better for them to know upfront.
That's right.
So, we fall into that a lot of times with developers.
But a lot of times the developers are quick to take your money. So they want to collect your money and they will hound you to get your money.
Yep.
But then they will delay with the delivery. And I think that's something of concern. And then when they delay, they're not willing to renegotiate the term. So it's like, no, we still want you to pay based upon the contract, but we can just build this building whenever we feel like it. So that's something that a lot of people are concerned with also. And that's the reality of it.
And, there's one developer that I personally invested in the project and there were delays, but there was not that pressure to go according to the payment timelines because they knew that they were in a delay. And yes, there are other developers that are pushing you to continue with your payment timelines. And another reason for construction delay is, maybe you are a buyer that pays on time, but you have 20 other buyers that haven't. And, what is flawed in this system is the financial resources.
Okay.
You see, in the States, you can get construction loans. The builder can get construction loans to build the project. But we don't have that here. Okay. So you are using people's money to build. It's essentially like you hired a project manager to build for you. And so if you don't pay on time,
a delay.
And you don't pay on time,
it's a delay.
How are you going to expect this project to be completed on time?
Yeah.
So we don't have the luxury of borrowing to build unless we try and get it from overseas. And then now you're talking about dollars and then you're talking about inflation. What about those clients who are paying in local currency?
Right. And the interest rate also to mention that goes along with any of those construction loans.
Yeah.
Which I've heard the interest rates are insane, like 12 to 30% depending on some of the...
Well, if it's a local, mortgage or local facility, you're looking at starting off at 37%. It's high.
37%?
If it's a dollar loan, this is for a buyer.
Okay.
Because I just explained developers don't get those construction loans. So for a buyer, if you are a dollar earner, then it starts at 11 to 12%. But there are some developers who have become innovative and they are offering developer-backed mortgages, which will give you a lower rate at about 8.75%.
And that's still it's lower.
It's lower, but not as low as the States, I know.
No, 8.75.
Yeah.
I remember 8.75 in the state. Well, it was like 7 back in like 2000, like 7.5 in that range. And then it shot up a little bit recently, but then for the longest time, it was hanging around 3.5%.
Yeah.
But that's a different system, a different culture. And so that's, and obviously because the access to loaned money is there, the prices are also inflated.
Cost to borrow,
So the appreciation is different. So now when it comes to, everybody doesn't have to build. They're homes that are already ready to be purchased. They can look at the home. Hey, I want to buy it. That's available as well.
It's available, but I think more people are drawn towards new construction off plan because you get introductory rates, you get discounts, and you get that payment period. So now they're becoming very innovative. Even if the home will be completed in like 2 years, they'll let you pay over 5 years. Okay. Or you can use rental income to pay the remainder of the balance once the property gets completed. So a lot of people are drawn towards properties that are new construction. If it's existing, you got to pay up front.
You have to pay up front.
There's no payment plan on an existing property for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. You've got to pay it all.
So that's where it's not as attractive to say someone in the States, because a lot of people are looking for places to retire. Because when you look at, let's say someone is earning $3,000 US per month. They can come to Ghana and have a nice life. If they get the right housing situation.
Absolutely.
But struggle in the U.S. I mean, 3,000, it depends on where you live in the U.S., of course, but I'm just thinking in terms of those people, they're looking and considering coming over, and you have a lot of retirees who are looking to come. You have a lot of families who are looking to relocate, a lot of single diasporans, all of that. Now, here's something that's interesting. You talked about women real estate investors.
Yeah.
So in the U.S., you noted a certain percentage of women real estate investors compared to Ghana.
Yeah. So I was saying that single women overseas use a lot of their discretionary income to purchase investment properties or to just purchase homes, even their first home. And I believe the number is over 47% of women. Whereas here in Ghana, it's about 8.1% of women who actually own property. So there's a cultural difference there. Whereas here, women are encouraged to wait for their husbands, and they buy the property together, or to buy, with your romantic partner. Whereas in the States, the whole feminism, independent women, they're already going out there, educating themselves and buying multiple homes.
Multifamily properties and owning businesses and traveling the world. Yeah.
That's the difference. Yeah.
So how do you inspire ladies here in Ghana? Because clearly you're, one of the top 50 top influential women in Ghana, one of the top CEOs, top 100 CEOs. So because you're doing real estate, but there's also, I hear another message here for women and being able to empower them when it comes to real estate or whatever their profession might be.
Yeah, so we host conferences. There's African Women in Real Estate Conference. We host that every year, and the purpose of that is to encourage women to venture into the real estate sector. Because you don't see, in the States, about 69% of women, you'll find them as realtors. Whereas here, it's only 14%. So we encourage women to venture into the real estate sector and to also look at real estate entrepreneurship and real estate investment as well. So I'm a big encourager of collective investment as well, coming together, purchasing multifamily units here or land, have your exit plan, resell it, reinvest your seed capital, that sort of thing. So, what people don't know is Ghana has the highest annual rental yields in Africa.
Really?
Not just West Africa, the entire continent.
Really?
Yes.
When we come back, the conversation continues. But first, a special message from one of our sponsors. Join Darren and Destiny, twin explorers, on an epic journey across the African diaspora. From Ghana to Tanzania, Ethiopia, Brazil, and beyond. Their adventures uncover the beauty, history, and culture of these countries, changing the way children see the world. Dive into the adventures of Darren and Destiny now.
So it is a great place for an investment. The rental income, we've got the highest percentages.
And the yields, because the population is roughly around 33 million, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So even with it not having the largest population, it has the highest yields.
Because of tourism.
Got it.
If we look at since the initiative of Beyond the Return, or Year of Return and Beyond the Return, it's really put a spotlight on Ghana.
Yes.
So if you look at I think it was December 2022, those 31 days alone, Ghana received 1.3 million visitors.
Woo.
In just those 31 days. And 40% of them prefer to stay in Airbnb rather than the traditional hotel, motel type environment. So you're looking at about over 400,000 people just in that month of December who want to rent out your unit.
I'm ready for my unit to be completed so I can rent them out. I'm ready because I'm buying 2 units.
Perfect.
2 luxury condos, apartments, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So when y'all are ready, when they're done, and y'all want to come here for the December festive season,
that's it.
Then holla at your boy. I'll get you right. I think it's really good because when it comes to girls and other women, and they see you in this position, then it offers them an additional face to identify with, to say, oh, okay, that's something I can get into. And then when they hear, oh, wow, this is where I can really make some money, I can do something different. Because sometimes when we get into systems, like in the U.S. when I was coming along, everybody wanted to get into the government. That if you get into the government, you can work there 40 years, you can get your pension, you have benefits. And that was really the extent. Very smart people. So they would literally go to college, all to come work for city, state, federal, some sort of municipal government. And but then after they got to a certain age, they were like, wait a minute, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years, and there's some other things I want to do.
Yeah.
But because their vision had been limited to just that, they found as they got older, it being difficult to transition into a new profession, or even if it was something that they enjoyed doing. Maybe it didn't make as much money, but for some reason, it was like it was a block and they couldn't get past it. And I've seen it with so many of my peers that they're kind of stuck in this place. Well, I'm just going to stay here. But what you're doing for young girls and for women, maybe I can get into real estate. Maybe I can own a multi-unit property. Maybe I can be a broker. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think that's a very important. This is far beyond real estate. It's really about the message and really part of your assignment.
Yeah, and it's empowering people. And I think the key thing, my assignment is to raise up a generation of millionaires through real estate. And the key thing is building generational wealth through real estate, one house at a time. So that is the message that I'm spreading. We have African youth in real estate seminars and African women in real estate seminars. And so with the youth, we're teaching them the entire real estate value chain. Everyone thinks real estate is limited to buying and selling, but we're talking about real estate right now. So there are real estate talk shows, there are real estate magazines, there are real estate blogging, graphics, videography, digital tours, decor, architectural design. There's so much in the real estate value chain. So we want to open their mind to all the possibilities in real estate.
And Ghana is the perfect place to do it, even with the challenge that we talked about, because I see the cranes.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I see the homes going up everywhere. Just in the past couple of years, I'm watching and I'm saying, I remember when DC, back in the 90s, when you could buy a house in DC for $1.
Yes.
From New York County.
You could do it in Baltimore now.
You can still do it in Baltimore. It's been like a while in Baltimore. I did a rehab in Baltimore right here in 07, and there were down houses back then. Some Baltimore. So, but in DC on Wheatgrove Avenue, you could buy a row house. Or no. Today you can't buy dirt in DC, but I knew row houses are starting with the shells and starting at $1 million. And they're turning them into basically with duplexes. You have
basement, and then you have the upstairs, and they're renting them for $6,000 a month or more, depending. Yeah. Some of them are, going for, you could go upwards of $13,000 a month in parts of DC. So what I see in Ghana is not that I see $13,000. I know there are some places that cost that, Josako and places like that. But what I'm recognizing is the same thing is happening in Accra. That happened in DC. And I said, I'm not going to miss out on this. The other thing I noticed is that in Kumasi, they built a brand new international airport. If that doesn't communicate something, but unfortunately, and this is and I speak to primarily the Black American audience, maybe Black Canadians, Black Brits, out of the Caribbean as well. Unfortunately, we come to the party late. After everything, we want it already built, we want it pretty, we just want to move in and we want to click for the gram. But to be able to have the vision to see where something is going years before it happens is something that, and again, you're doing this by giving all of the options. Because, I didn't know you could get into virtual tours of homes and giving them vision, empowering them, expanding the mind so that they can be in position to take advantage of, whether we like it or not, the explosion is coming. The real estate boom is coming. Whether we like gentrification or not, it is. We can't stop it because the dollars are coming in from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And outside of that, I offer real estate investment courses and consultancy as well, because you see, the key thing is to invest in emerging areas. Everybody wants to invest in your prime areas like cantonments and the airport and Labani and that sort of thing, which is great if you're looking for passive income or rental income. But if you're looking for appreciation, you want to move to those emerging areas, up and coming areas, right?
Yes.
Like your Chado, your Oyarifa, your Pram Pram, and East Legon Hills. When we were talking about East Legon Hills, A plot of land was about 10,000 Ghana cedis. Today, it's anywhere from $35,000 to $90,000. And people were complaining because they said, "Oh, the road is too bad. Oh, I don't want to go over there." The road is done now.
The road is done.
The road is
and
done.
Now they're late.
Yeah.
And
now,
that's-
and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So, you need to open your mind as well. Yes, the roads may not be that good. Electricity may not be coming to that area yet. Water flow may not necessarily be there. But if you buy and hold, and at the rate that this economy is developing, you're going to see some capital gains there.
Whew. This is a great conversation. I'm sure that it has helped and shifted some mindsets about investing in real estate in Ghana, because you have eloquently laid this out in such a way that it's simple. It's very simple. But if you just follow the system or the plan that's already laid out, then this can help mitigate some of the challenges that obviously have been happening to folks. But you said it best. 9 times out of 10, they did not follow those 8 steps, checking off all of the different boxes, going to work with people just because they trusted them, and all of that. So I appreciate what you're doing. And I think that, while you are watching and considering, one thing I will tell you, there are 2 places that I'm looking to invest on the continent of Africa. Ghana, for sure, and South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why South Africa is because it's just kind of it's kind of a familiar vibe, but Ghana has my heart, and so even Ghana and I have we have a love-hate relationship sometimes. It's like I feel like an abusive relationship sometimes. Like, you got me, I can't let you go, but I see the potential, and I love being in this space, and for whatever reason, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to always try to look for the positive side and the successful side, because I know that it's here. And I believe in the Ghanaian people. I know everybody's not scamming. I know everybody's not out here running games. And I believe in my people in the U.S. Everybody's not trying to be cheap. Everybody's not trying to get over. And some people are really trying to come and establish something new for themselves. And they just need that connection. And hopefully this conversation has inspired them to at least investigate a little bit deeper.
Yes,
and
please.
Not just go, So in closing, is there anything that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, I definitely want to say that, we are in a great nation. And a lot of times we focus so much on the negative things that are being highlighted, that negative narrative. But first of all, I want to encourage people to come and see Ghana for themselves. Don't believe and listen to what everybody is saying. Don't know of it, but know it by coming here and seeing it for yourself. And they are great opportunities here. But please, do your due diligence. Due diligence, due diligence, due diligence.
You heard it. Hanna said it best. And I want to, where can everybody find you on social media, your website? How can we find you?
Yeah, I'm on all social media platforms, Hanna Atiase. Or EWells Realty. And you can visit our website, EWellsConsult.com. And we have all our listings there. Beachfront properties, mountain views, all kind of views. Everything is on the website.
Well, this is exciting. I hope that you all have been able to take notes. If you didn't take notes, rewind and watch it again. You can slide back or however you need to do it. But this is important information for those who are serious about maybe visiting, relocating, or learning more about the Ghana real estate market. So until next time, make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow Hanna and EWells Realty and everything that they have going on. And be sure to spread the word. Share this video, because somebody out there is going to say, oh, they scammed me, they took me for bad or whatever. It may have happened, but then ask them, did you follow these steps? And then you'll get the real answer. And then you focus on what you want to do and see what opportunities and possibilities await you here in Ghana. So until next time, take care and be safe.